swells mightily. It thunders from afar like 100 forging hammers, and echoes manifoldly and powerfully in the mountain. As I reach the pass, I see an enormous man approach from the other side. Two bull horns rise from his great head, and a rattling suit of armor covers his chest. His black beard is ruffled and square. His bare legs are covered with shaggy black hair. The giant is carrying in his hand a black iron battle axe inlaid with silver. Before I can recover completely from my amazement, the giant is standing before me, and I look at his face. It is faint and pale, deeply furrowed with wrinkles. His almond-shaped eyes look at me astonished. Horror takes hold of me. This is Dubar. Maybe horror would be overtaking me if I knew who the hell... Oh, okay, there's a footnote. Dubar was an early name given the figure now known as Gilgamesh. Oh, sitting on your Zafu for decades, right? Because you're exactly where you were and you're not planning on going anywhere, right? Anyway, and like spending decades just trying to get rid of that last little tiny fleck of desire for enlightenment, trying to get to the place where you're free of trying to not try. There is no try, only do or no do. Not do-do. Like, isn't that a Yoda thing? Oh, yeah, I was thinking Zelda, for those Zelda fans. The Tri-Force? There is no try. The Tri-Force? There's something there. I don't know what it is. Yoda and Star Wars on one hand, Zelda, Link, and Hyrule on the other, and something about trying and the double entendre with, try like TRY and TRI, meaning three, because of the Triforce. Wisdom, power, and courage.
Welcome back. This is Chicken Philosophy. Martin Luther, part 11.
Hi, everybody. This is very honored Frater BT speaking to you. So on account of our friend here, our new friend, the Emotional Support Demon, for those unfamiliar with the clique, one of the things he does is he'll read memes from various Reddit threads, and he'll have sexism bingo and overbearing parent bingo, that kind of thing. Different types of bingo. So in homage, I'm not intending to be ripping him off, and this is just sort of in a funny way, and this isn't a new thing we're going to be doing from now on. This is just for this episode, just because of this guy. That guy. We're doing Lutheran bingo today. So, we've got on the top row here, the devil. Yes, we know the devil. Yes, good friend. Dark Lord. Okay. So whenever Martin Luther mentions the devil, which he often does, we're probably definitely going to be getting that one marked off, probably pretty early on in his lecture today. And anyway, so that's the devil. And then next we have the Pope is the Antichrist, which I don't know, if he implies or if he just outright says the Pope is the Antichrist, then we'll mark that one off. We'll see how it goes. It's only happened once so far. We've got approving of the riots. Okay, so in the wake of what he did, a lot of people were already kind of pissed off about various things that the Roman Catholic Church was doing. So they started rioting and smashing idols and forcing nuns to marry and stuff like that. And there were all these different little branches of like from radical Protestant to like more, Lutheran type, kind of mellow Protestant. There were many different types of Protestants in the very early days. And so these lectures are the beginning of Martin Luther addressing the fact that they were rioting and doing all this crazy stuff and disrupting Catholic masses and doing all this stuff. And sometimes it's like he's like, well, Scripture says you guys are right for what you're doing. And so that's what I'm going to call approving of the riots. And then next we have disapproving of the riots, which is something that, especially Lutherans are more quick to point out that he disapproved. He was saying, don't smash things. And so when he disapproves, sometimes he approves and disapproves in the same sentence or, one sentence apart in the same paragraph. And so we have approving of the riots and disapproving of the riots. Stop making new rules. Okay, so he's talking to the early Protestants that are going to no doubt end up laying the foundation for whatever new version of Christianity is going to crop up in Western Europe, which as we know, there were 10,000 or more over time. But, initially there was only going to be about 8 or so. And so he was urging them not to make new rules, that if God didn't say, I condemn this, don't you condemn it. Don't you say, okay, this new version of Christianity condemns it. If you're reacting against this silly idea of a vow of chastity, for instance, in the church, don't make a rule that you have to be married, for instance. Next, we have let the nuns be fruitful. So this is when he kind of encourages the idea of nuns or monks, people who have, as I just mentioned, taken the vow of chastity. They're like, you know what, it's too much. I want to be a normal person. I want to get married. Of course, he's not encouraging them to go to the brothel, but they want to take a wife or a husband and have a family and stuff like that. And he's saying, go for it. So when he does that, then we'll check, let the nuns be fruitful. Don't force them to be free. Now, there might be one or two things he says today that fall into maybe more than one category. There's a bit of an overlap between stop making new rules and don't force them to be free. So if a nun wants to remain a nun and stay at the Roman Catholic convent and continue to be chaste and do the rosary, over and over, whatever, let her do that. Don't like force her to, at gunpoint to, get married. Indulgences. Now that was, of course, the main focus of the initial 95 Theses that kind of, propelled Martin Luther into fame. And so he tends to bring it up, even just in passing, in these lectures. And so when he does, we'll mark that. I am the chosen one. So this is when Martin Luther, says in one way or another, I was chosen by God to bring true Christianity, or to bring, allow you to, he translated the Bible into the vernacular. Before that, it was in Latin, so only scholars and priests could read it. So he's, sometimes he says, God appointed me to the task of being this great leader for you. And then right next to it, we have, I am very humble. And so this is another one, like approving and disapproving of the riots. They tend to go together. So he'll say, but many of you are much holier than I am and much have stronger faith than I do, and I'm just an ordinary guy. So I am the chosen one. I am very humble. Here we have laugh out loud. Anything that makes me laugh out loud. If something, he's often very funny. So when he's very funny, then we'll mark that. WTF, that stands for what the fuck. That's when, that has more to do with me than it does with Martin Luther. When he makes reference to something and I have no idea what he's talking about, then we'll mark it under what the fuck. And then in the center of the board, we have the eye roll emoji. Self-explanatory, I think. Anything that makes me go, oh God, roll my eyes, and it goes there. And here we have milk, specifically human breast milk. And, of course, we have Homelander smiling. He likes that, as we all know. So it's the Sao Wow, Sao Pao. Sao Jiao, excuse me. The Sao Jiao Festival happens once a year in Goa, and it's in honor of St. John the Baptist, the loincloth-wearing, locust and honey-eating confronter of Herod in the street, who suffered consequences, maybe becoming a role model for someone else that you might know. You know what I mean? Maybe. Anyway, the point is, for a good monsoon season, they call on John the Baptist and say, "Dear St. John the Baptist, bring us good rains this year." It's unique to Goa, and it was fun. Here's a bit more. For the first time in like 20 episodes, it feels like, we will begin a new section in which we will not be talking about the 9 traits of the helpers of the mighty. Future Gwydion, from half an hour from now, after having finished today's reading, without spoiling anything, can you give us a clue as to how long it's going to be before we start the new section, and how is the new section? Well, I will say that it took about 25 minutes to finish that section, and the next section is so far it's intriguing, and I'm not really sure where it's going just yet. All right, well, that's what we have to go on. So before I begin, this episode is brought to you by Ood. Editor Edward, you know very well that that's not the ood I'm talking about. It's not even spelled the same. It's a homophone. Quote, Isdubar, powerful one, listen. A thought came to me that might save us. I think that you are not at all real, but only a fantasy. End quote.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? No escape from reality.
Thank you, Freddie Mercury. Isdubar turns his head to me in surprise. I am terrified by your thoughts. They are murderous. Try to think of that space like this.
Take the sandals from your feet. The place on which you stand is holy ground.
It's a good movie if you haven't seen Prince of Egypt. Okay, where were we? Penetration? Yes. Let us withdraw to the higher and more spiritual ether which bathes us in living light. And let us take joy in making an inventory of its attributes and recognizing their nature before examining in a general way the means by which we can open ourselves ever more to its penetration. What you're hearing right now is a track called Ho from the band Yahowa 13. It's an album called Penetration. So Ho in this context does not refer to what Frederick Wilhelm calls logos, or animus in The Secret of the Golden Flower. That's a different Ho, and it does not refer to Eddie Murphy.
I want to be a hoe.
Thank you, Eddie Murphy. It does not refer to that either. In this case, it refers to the He in Yod He Vav He. Or, if you're wrong, the Ho in Jehovah. It's a Yod. Nobody pronounces Yod with a J. Filling in for Gwydion, because of course Gwydion doesn't like reading Martin Luther.
Actually, I think I'm ready.
Hey Gwydion, how come you're... What do you mean you're ready? What are you ready for?
I mean, I'm ready to read Martin Luther. I don't need you to fill in for me anymore.
Okay. Why the sudden change? I'm not exactly sure.
I've been keeping up. I've been listening to the recitals that you and BP and Edward have been doing, and I don't know. I think it was more the idea of Martin Luther or things that I had heard about him. I mean, maybe he changes later in life, but at least at this point, when he's doing these 8 sermons in Lent, or I don't know. I don't dislike what he's saying. I mean, I think that if I were alive in 1522 in that area, I would have either wanted to be Martin Luther, or I would have been a little bit envious that he was the one up there saying all this stuff. I think I aspire to be that kind of self-righteous contrarian, that he exemplifies in that era.
All right, well, I suppose being a self-righteous contrarian is a step in the right direction. What do you mean?
Just that there are worse things to be than a self-righteous contrarian.
Of course there are. It's the best.
Speak your truth.
What are you talking about, my truth? It's the truth.
As the divine guardian Shemesh once said, thou shouldst call nothing common or unclean, that a man or woman who seeks a good or fancied good, be it what it may, even if it be merely sensual lust, which to him or her seems the best thing, is all unknown to himself or herself, seeking him the master. The soul is young, the ideal is low and primitive, but nevertheless, it is an ideal. By degrees, other ideals will be substituted for the lower ones. Feed my lambs, said the master, not drive them into your own favorite pasture.
You really don't think that that's maybe a little condescending? As far as this song that we're hearing right now, could you tell us who is this? Where can we hear more of their music?
Yeah, that's Nini Music. There's a link. And this is, of course, a cover of Nothing Else Matters, using traditional Chinese instruments. She plays a variety of traditional Chinese instruments. There's some original music and a lot of covers and stuff like that. Also, she's one of the artists featured on my new playlist, which is on my channel, Gwydion's Astral Coffee House, my own personal channel. And it's a playlist called Music for When You're Driving. You can check that out right there.
Thank you. It was a good choice, and I'm glad to be introduced to that. And the playlist and everything, and I'm sure we'll be listening to that in our car. In fact, if you count me and Gwydion and Pymander and Edward as all part of one being, was just listening to that in the car as Priel and I went to the beach, and yeah, it looked like that. And it's pouring rain outside. You might hear a little bit of that. And yeah, it's a good playlist. Is there anything else? Cheers. Oh, this is Pine Morning Star Incense. I hope that nobody's playing a drinking game where you take a shot every time I say eschatological, because that might be hazardous to your health. What do you think? You enjoying it so far? I was thinking in certain magical workings, is this thing on? In certain, you purify the space you're working in with water and fire, and there's like a few different ways you can look at that. But one particularly interesting way is that when you sprinkle water physically and astrally in the space, it gets rid of anything that is averse to the nature of water. So like fiery spirits are kind of like, I'm not into water. And then you go through with the incense, with the fire and air, and then the watery spirits are like, I'm not really into fire. And so then you're all alone. And then, you draw your circle and establish that I am alone here. Whereas what I do here on Chicken Philosophy is I read Meccan Revelations, So that anybody who's averse to the nature of Islam will be like, oh, I'm not really into this chicken philosophy thing. And then I read Christianity, so those averse to Christianity will be like, oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable here. And then Secret of the Golden Flower, so that anybody who's not into Eastern philosophy in general or Chinese things specifically will be like, I'm not really comfortable with all this. Or people who aren't into Martin Luther because they're uber Catholic, or people who aren't into the Catholicism because they're uber Protestant, or people who aren't into... You see what I mean? And then it assures that I am all alone here on chicken philosophy, which is exactly the way I like it. And further, when people see that I'm actually taking it seriously and not just mocking and criticizing it, they go, how can he take any of this seriously? And then when they see that I'm mocking and criticizing, they go, how come he's not taking it seriously? So it's just sort of, it's like a great filter that just filters out any possible, because, they always say if you want the channel to grow, which I don't, but if you did, then you should pick a thing and stick to it and do it every time, do it over and over. And, if you look like me, it helps to either be a racist asshole so that you'll get a large audience of racist assholes, or just stick to being like uber leftist woke, and then you'll get a moderate following of people who are like, it's good that he's using his platform to let people know about these important issues. Yeah, that was something I didn't quite pick up on when I was reading it, or when BT was reading it, or whatever. Or even Edward in his post-editing analysis of the tarot card and the connections is, he rescued this old hero, this old god, if you will, this old myth, and brought it to the West, brought it to the modern world, by calling it a fantasy. See? That's what Carl Jung did. Rather than have to throw all this stuff away, we can keep it, and we can look at it in a different light by considering it a fantasy without, that implied, like, therefore you shouldn't pay attention to it. There's so many, fictions and archetypes. I mean, these are all kind of like post-Jung. These are the things that he coined. So, I mean, I think that a person can decide day to day, I know I do, on what level they want to relate to ancient beings or mythical beings or great teachers of the past, or gods or goddesses, or I've got so many around me, I'm looking at them, contemplating grabbing one and holding it to the screen, but I haven't decided to do that. So we get to keep them in the modern world and look at them as Jungian archetypes in the collective unconscious, rather than gods in heaven or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or Mount Olympus. The name Pymander was assigned to the Buddhist monk robe wearing me, which is actually the present day me. This is me from 10 years ago and more. But honored and in a Jungian sense, like allowed to express itself, because it's not like it's gone, that earlier me. There's an inner child in you, right? Still wants to go out and play ball with their friends or whatever, and sometimes it's good to honor that by expressing it, to let it out, to live it, rather than always being like, no, I am an adult. When I was a child, I did childish things, but now I am grown and I have left childish things behind. Thank you, St. Paul. Maybe look in the mirror a little bit, dive in and see what's going on under the hood. Yeah, so here's an example of that. If you don't feel guilty and bad every day, then you're doing something wrong. is what Martin Luther is clearly stating in English. Actually, it was German, but it was translated into English. And maybe he got that from Catholicism. As we saw in the Pet Shop Boys video song, It's a Sin. And we assumed he was Protestant because he was English. I guess he was Irish, so that's where... I don't know. But he was Catholic. There's Catholics in England, too. Yeah. So that, as far as my personal relationship with that, I've mentioned it before, that was something that my grandma took wholly for granted and tried to imprint upon my mom, who rejected the idea. So I was raised by a person who was constantly in a state of rejecting that idea. And so that's how it came down to me. Was here on one hand, I have my mom, who has that idea upside down, that she would beat herself up if she wasn't happy enough, kind of thing. Wasn't free enough and enjoying enough, and God damn it, why can't I be happy? And then grandma, a person isn't meant to be happy. Life isn't about happiness. It's good advice is what I'm saying. It sounds like a paradox. It sounds infuriating. It sounds frustrating. It sounds like advice that you want to throw away and disregard, but it's not. It's good advice. If you want success, stop wanting success. If you want to actually get success, stop wanting success. Obviously, take steps towards success. If you stop walking towards success, you'll never get success. You've got to walk towards success and just want to breathe. Just want to be here. Just want to enjoy life. Enjoy the journey. You know? If nothing else, if it takes 5 years to get there, you won't be spending 5 years tearing out your hair going, my God, when's it going to get here? To such a degree that when it finally comes, it can't possibly live up to how much you've built it up as the end-all, be-all, penultimate existence. Because it won't. That's why, you know, so many people are like, I finally achieved my dreams, but I'm unhappy. Yeah, because you're still alive in the world. And being alive in the world means little aches and pains. It means gravity. It means paper cuts. It means bad moods. It means liquor shits, if you drink liquor, for instance. You know, things, when they're a distant memory, somehow all that stuff kind of gets erased. And you go, oh, you can actually remember fondly a time which at the time was absolutely miserable. Like, oh yeah, I remember being a teenager, riding around with my friends. I wish that I could experience that now rather than the me that was there at the time, because the me that was there at the time was always whining about how his parents died. Well, okay, I guess he was going through a lot, you know, that kind of thing. Then they see a green meadow, or if it is Gehenna, that's not good. Then they see it according to the traits of its bitter cold, burning winds, and the other things God has prepared in it. Oh, thanks, God. And most of the people of Unveiling see this at the beginning of their path. We would know it today as a bad trip for those who've taken hallucinogens. Now, the revelation alluded to in bracket parentheses, Muhammad's and bracket parentheses, the bracket parentheses meaning that Michel inserted that in. Ibn Arabi didn't write that. Michel thought it necessary to put that in there. Saying, okay, so it's a quote from the Quran. Quote, between my grave and this pulpit is one of the meadows of the garden, end quote. I assume that that's from the Quran. I don't know, it doesn't say. So the people of Unveiling see it as a meadow, just as he said. And they see the Nile, Euphrates, Seyhan, and Jahan as the rivers of honey, water, wine, and milk for the nerds that like to do correspondences. Here's your homework. Nile, corresponds to honey, I assume, because it's written in this order. Euphrates corresponds to water, or frat, if you will, the ancient name of the Euphrates. Sayhan, S-A-Y-H-A-N, corresponds to wine. Does that have a modern name, or is it still called Sayhan and I'm ignorant of its existence? And Jahan corresponds to milk. Okay, so put that all together, compare and contrast it with this diagram of the Garden of Eden before the fall. And it's 4 rivers. And let me know in what ways it overlaps accurately and in what ways it doesn't, and any interesting discrepancies that are telling. And write a brief essay, at least a paragraph or 2, and put it in the comment below. That's your homework.